Good morning, people. All you devotee type people, big and little. Thank you. If you're listening in online, you're at home, getting ready to go to work, getting kids ready to go to school, getting ready to make your day begin, we're glad you made it. And that you chose to spend part of your morning with us. Srimad Bhagavatam is a good way to get your batteries charged for the day. Would you say so, Mother Tammy? For those of you who are listening in, I think everybody here in the room perhaps knows me, but I will introduce myself to those of you who are listening in and perhaps do not know me. I'm Rupanagadas. And we're having some expert technical assistance here. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And today, being Monday and all, we're going to have a little discourse on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I've chosen a verse today, and in case you want to look it up, it's chapter 10, text 41. But first, we'll invoke the blessings and the presence of the Supreme Lord and His beautiful, beautiful consort. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nitai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijakacharya Hasto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Loving Grace Abhaya Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijakacharya Asto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki ISKCON BBT founder Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Guru Parampara Ki, Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Ki, Shri Mathura Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Shri Shri Radha Kalachandi Dham Ki, Ganga Devi Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Brihad Madanga, Transcendental Book and Prasadam Distribution Ki, Nitai Gaura Premananda, Hari Hari Bol, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishvadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namare Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Pacharnine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatadesha Tadine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasan Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastapareshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavad Gita Once again, we'll be reading chapter 10, text number 41. If and when we find it. Let's do word for word recitations before we recite this as poetry. Yat yat, whatever. Vibhuti, opulences. Mat, having. Sattvam, existence. Srimat, beautiful. Urjitam, glorious. Eva, certainly. Va, or. Tat tat, all those. Eva, certainly. Avagacha, must know. Tvam, you. Mama, my. And that's a capital my, so that means Krishna. Teja, of the splendor. Amsha, a part. Sambhavam, born of. So now let's recite it as poetry. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad urjitam evava tatareva kacha eva vakacha tvam mama tejom sa sambhavam yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad urjitam evava tatareva gacha no tava eva vaka. Yeah, there's two V's in there. Tatat eva vagacha tvam mama tejom sa sambhavam. Chant, please. Yad vibhuti matsatvam imarujitam evava Atariva vagacha amate jom sam shambhavam Yad vibhuti matsatvam imarujitam evava Atariva vagacha bhavam Yad vibhuti matsatvam imarujitam evava Atareva vagachatvam Amate jomsha sambhavam. More person. Yad vibhuti matsatvam vimarujitam evava Atareva vagachatvam Yad yat. Oh yeah, repeat with me, please. Yad yat. Whatever. Vibhuti, opulences. Mat, having. Sattvam, existence. Shri. Have we already done this? We've already done this. Well, let's why don't we go on? Urjitam, glorious. Eva, certainly. Va, or. Tat, tat, all those. Eva, certainly. Avagacha, must know. Tam, you. Mama, my. Teja, of the splendor. Amcha, apart. Sambhavam, born of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from about a spark of my splendor. Repeat, please. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring but from a spark of my spring from but a spark of my splendor. Purport, very short purport by Srila Prabhupada. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. Om Magana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Vishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Maya Dadati Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Dyutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindho Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswaminiti Namane. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So Krishna displays his power in a number of ways, quite well, I guess, in an unlimited number of ways. The one that we are greeted by every day is the sun, and we see that the sun is just a little bit of Krishna's power, illuminating and warming this entire universe, which I think, according to the Vedas, is 4 billion miles in diameter. So when the scientists say that we have stars that are light years away, you know, we kind of smile a little bit and say, if only you knew. Only for this particular universe, only 4 billion miles across, and yet one object in the universe heats and provides warmth to the entire universe, to all the planets, all the living entities on those planets. So this is just one particular universe, and it's said that this is the smallest of the unlimited numbers of universes that are in existence. In this little quadrant of the spiritual sky, known as the material manifestation. You know, we have seen exhibitions of Krishna's power, and actually we have to say that it's only a fragmental part of his material energy. And we say material, even though Krishna does not have any material energy. But he makes some of his energy available to us and our senses, by which we can recognize different attributes of this material world. So we call it the material energy, and we say that it is inferior to Krishna's spiritual energy. The material energy, of course, is what makes up these bodies that we currently inhabit. And they began by whatever our mothers are eating and drinking during the time of our incubation within the body of our mothers. And so these bodies then came from that material energy that she consumed, was transmitted through her bloodstream, through the umbilical cord, to our little tiny developing bodies. And then, of course, when we got out of our mother's bodies, probably, if we were very lucky, the first thing we received as nutrients was milk from our mother's bodies. Again, a transformation of the material energy of the Lord running through the bloodstream of our mother's bodies. And that's what caused us to be able to survive. And that alone was enough to cause us to grow, develop, and become, and receiving antibodies from our mother's bodies, it helped us to ward off some diseases as well. Again, if we were lucky. Of course, during my parents' generation, uh, the popular thing became, since a woman should never expose her breasts in public, it became a very popular thing then to stick a bottle in a baby's mouth with some kind of a mixture that was prepared by a manufacturing industry somewhere. Or if the child was really lucky, then as happened later on, especially during my wife and my time of child producing years, then it became possible for the mother to express milk from her own breasts and put it in a bottle and perhaps freeze it or keep it cold until the time when the baby could take it. And that was, of course, to help facilitate a number of things, probably the mother's activities, because after World War II, a lot of the women who were working to take the place of their husbands, sons, fathers in the industries that helped to support the war, they found out that this was, even when the husbands and fathers and brothers and such came back from the war and went to work in the manufacturing industries, they found out that with the women working, there were two incomes in the household. And so quite often then mothers would turn their babies over to, if they're really lucky, their grandmothers or their aunts or someone who was able to take care of them while they went to work and earned money to buy all the trappings of modern society. Dishwashers and stoves and refrigerators and things like that, that perhaps the one person's income alone was not able to fund. Well, so this what we were talking about, Christian's material energy, weren't we? And how we develop our bodies on the basis of that energy, and then everything else that takes place around us that we observe with our senses is part of that material energy. But that's just a fairly insignificant part of the energy of Krishna. So we have recently found out that Krishna's material energy can take the form of wind and rain. And so our country has been beset by droughts in one place and by deluges in another place. And a lot of people have felt a lot of discomfort, and they've given up a lot of their material possessions due to the rainstorms that swept up from the Gulf of Mexico and across the southeastern part of this country, and went right on up and caused a great deal of destruction. Why does that take place? Karma. We all have to suffer something in our lifetimes, and if our past activities have been very, very heinous, sinful, destructive, unkind to other people, then we have to pay for a price for that. And so in this lifetime, Krishna allows his material energy to give us those things. I think about sometimes the lava flows that I've seen in videos, and especially in Hawaii, and how that's like a river of molten rock, extremely hot. So, it's very difficult to even get close to it. And so this is to me one of the most outstanding examples, displays of Krishna's material energy. Then there's hurricanes, and then there's volcanoes and earthquakes. And regarding volcanoes, I think quite often of Mount St. Helens, as some of you might remember. I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Can't even remember when it was, but it just seems like it was fairly recently that we witnessed some of the videos that were being shot of that mountain, Mount St. Helens, when the whole side of that mountain blew out and took down fully grown groves of trees all around, and cause mudslides and stuff to just inundate that environment around them. And I think, wow, what power there is in Krishna's material energy. And if you were to look at Mount St. Helens from a point 50 miles, 100 miles from the surface of the earth, say you were able to go up in a shuttle or something and see down, it would be really hard to spot that one little mountain from out in space. And yet, to us, the power released by it they said that it was equal to quite a number of atomic weapons. And so I think about this and think about, then we talk about the atomic weapons and how this was developed back toward the end of World War II. And using Krishna's material energy, using that uranium, 238 and was it 235? Anyhow, one of those was purified then and made into a very highly radioactive, very power-packed substance. And then when it was fashioned into a bomb in a place that I was working actually just before I came to Dallas, called Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, just west of Knoxville, Tennessee. When they released that weapon on the two cities in Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it practically decimated a full city, and that was a small uranium bomb. The other one might have been plutonium, I can't remember. But anyhow, this energy of the Supreme Lord, what took decades and perhaps centuries to put together, could be blown away in a fraction of time. In seconds, within seconds, or even less than a minute. You can see pictures of the destruction that was there. There were cities also that were destroyed later on in Germany. I can't remember the name of the city, but if you see pictures of it, if you see what is happening in Ukraine in the present time, you can see that bombs have been going off for over a year, maybe more than a year, and it's caused complete destruction of the cities that took decades to build, to turn into a city, and yet within just a short period of time. Well, you can only imagine what would happen if uranium or plutonium or hydrogen weapons were used, the destruction that could cause. And there's a great deal of fear, of course, for those kinds of weapons being used in our society today. Somewhere in the planet, someone sets off a weapon like that, and then others, follow suit, and they set off their weapons. And as a result, it can destroy the entire population on the face of the earth, especially human population, and what to speak of animals. Probably the only thing that might survive is the creatures, we can say spirit souls living in the bodies of things in the depths of the ocean that might be able to survive such a cataclysmic occurrence as that. So this is all Krishna's material energy. And sometimes Krishna chooses this. Well, I won't say sometimes. He chooses for these things to happen, the natural events and the man-made events. It is by his sanction only that any of this takes place. And this is one small universe in an assembly of many, I guess we say, unlimited numbers of universes that similar to ours, but all quite a bit larger. And you can only imagine, besides the material stuff that is there, the living entities who have chosen to leave the spiritual world and come into this material world. They inhabit all those universes, and in each universe that it has many planets such as this one does, and each one of those planets, according to the Vedas, is inhabited by by spirit souls that have taken some type of material body. Now it can be an earthly body such as these that we're having, or it can be something that is mostly water, or it can be mostly air, or it can be ethereal, or it can be something like the sun planet. It is said that in the sun, even though it appears to us to be totally unapproachable because of its heat and light, still there are living entities who have bodies that live on that planet, it is said. Same thing with the moon planet, which is said to be a heavenly planet, a place that is very beautiful. And of course, all we know about it is bare desert-like terrain and boulders and rocks. And we think, according to our scientists, that it could not be inhabited because it doesn't have the environment to support life. But what the scientists don't know is that the living entity, spirit souls, such as are in these bodies that we have, they can exist in other kinds of bodies that are made from the materials that are suitable for living on some of those other kinds of planets. So Krishna's powerful. And we can stop at that. But I'm not planning to. Because I want to talk about how loving Krishna is. Krishna will, despite the fact that he's got activities going on in unlimited numbers of spiritual planets in the Vaikunthas. He's got unlimited numbers of planets with spirit souls in them here in this material world. Still, he pays attention to us. Can you imagine? Why would he do that? Why doesn't he just get everything started and let it run on automatic? And whoever we are, whatever reactions we have to take, we just have to take them. If it's good, we enjoy it for the lifetime. But usually it's a mixture of good and bad. So sometimes we're enjoying. More of the time, we're feeling the pangs of material existence. So why does he come? He kind of likes us, I think. Sometimes he allows personalities to take birth in this world who are very dear to him. I'm thinking about Prahlad especially, how Prahlad came and he was already godly from having heard godly persons speaking while he was in the womb of his mother. And when he came out, he did not lose that knowledge and that kind of self-realization, God-realization. He knew without a doubt that Krishna is a person and that he cares about him. And so despite the fact that Prahlad took birth to a demoniac father, we've been reading about that recently in the Srimad Bhagavatam, haven't we? And talking about how he became so powerful that he took over the entire universe. He was actually ordering all of the seasons, all of the things that the demigods were heretofore responsible for. He took it over and was doing that. He was controlling the entire universe. Now, so the demigods realized early on that they were not going to be able to defeat this guy. So what do? They go to Papa. And who is Papa? Lord Brahma. And so Lord Brahma then takes them all and they go and I think this happened in this situation too. They go to the planet where the ocean of milk is located, the pole star, and as we know it now. They stand on the shore of that ocean of milk, and Lord Brahma communicates mentally, spiritually, with Lord Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, who is lying on the bed provided by Sheshanaga, and he communicates then with Lord Brahma. and Lord Brahma, of course, is asking, what are we supposed to do? And so Krishna informs him that you can't defeat this one. This is a special personality. This Hiranyakashipu is a special personality, and you can't fight with him. You're powerless in his presence, and so Krishna agrees to come into this world and fight with Hiranyakashipu. Of course, this was all set up, but he uses the reason for coming that his disciple, Prahlad Maharaj, who is a little boy, is so dear to him that he has to come and protect him from his very difficult father. So Krishna does that. He comes and he fights with him. And why does he allow this to happen? Well, for a couple of reasons. He likes to fight. Krishna likes a good fight. But it's not just any ordinary person that he can fight with. You know, the Stalins and Mussolinis and Hitlers. Insignificant. They're like little wasps compared to this personality, Hiranyakashipu. And so Krishna comes and fights with him and defeats him and gives all the lands and the property and the facilities back to the demigods, who are really his devotees. But occasionally, like Nanda Braj was saying, Prabhu was saying the other day in a class, that sometimes the demigods had to be shaken up a little bit, because they get the feeling after so many thousands and millions of years of being in the universe and being the greatest personalities in the universe, they get the feeling that, hey, we must be supreme. Krishna says, nope, not you. You're having to go to Brahma to get help. So you can only imagine what it is like then to try to control a personality like Hiranyakashipu. So Krishna sends a personality like that occasionally, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and others into this world to accomplish more than one purpose. One is that he likes to fight, so he gets a chance to fight with his own devotees. And the other purpose is to bring some understanding to personalities who have taken birth in this world that you're not the topmost person in this world. You may have a few hundred billions of dollars. You may own properties all over this little planet, this tiny planet within this universe. But you're nothing compared to what even one of my pure devotees it can do. And so we saw that with a little bit that we know about Jesus Christ, it is said that he was able to tame the oceans and the winds when he was out on a boat. And that was a beautiful, beautiful story. But then we have Prabhupada that comes to carry on the work of trying to enlighten all of us who are stuck in this material world and have been going through lifetime after lifetime, one body after the next. And finally, we have made it back to the human form. Yay, us. And in that human form, then, we can choose to either find a lot of pleasure in this material energy of the Lord at the expense of a lot of other living entities, or we can listen to the words of this personality who has come to reclaim us and get us back to the spiritual world from which we came, and that's Prabhupada. But what does he do for Prabhupada? Well, he lets him go through a period of suffering, doesn't he? Even at the age of, 70? When he came to this country, came to the West, and he had to go for an entire year practically without getting any noticeable results. And then Krishna then began piling on the results, bringing people to him, bringing wealth to him to use for the purpose of getting us out of this ridiculous place that we like to call home and that we really don't want to leave. We become accustomed to these bodies, and we're not too interested in giving them up. Just as King Indra was given, he was cursed to take the body and take a body of a hog, and he, even when Lord Brahma came to him and told him, hey, it's time for you to come back to your place, we need a king among the demigods. He said, that's all right, that's okay. I'm very happy. This is my wife over here, and these are my piglets, and we have this nice, pond of sewage to nibble on. We have no problem getting something to eat. I'm satisfied being here. Leave me alone. Go away. So he actually had to be killed to remove him from that hog body and get him back to the heavenly planet that he was supposed to be administering. So we see that Prahlad also was treated very harshly by his father, to the point of trying to kill him numbers of ways, throwing him into a boiling vat of oil, throwing him under the hooves of elephants. And what happens with that? One of the elephants picks him up, puts him on his back, and takes him for a ride. This is Prahlad. He gets him thrown down from the top of a mountain onto those stones below, and the stones turn into wonderful pillows, soft pillows that protect him. He's not hurt. And so Hiranyakashipu finally gets to the point of exasperation and says, Prahlad, where are you getting your power? And Prahlad says, from the same place you get yours, Father. So here was Hiranyakashipu thinking that he was the Lord of the entire universe. And within a matter of moments or hours, short time, to give Krishna the pleasure of fighting with this rascal, his body was ripped apart. Even though he thought he was totally invincible, it happened. So Krishna did that for this one little kid. And my spiritual master said one time, somebody asked, why do you have only one of the Dashavatars on the altar? Speaking of Lord Nrsingadev. And why not Lord Matsya? Or why not Kurma? What about some of the others? Why don't you have them on the altar? And so the answer that was given was, look what he does. Look what Lord Nrsingadev does. He comes to this planet just to rescue this little boy, Prahlad. That was one of his purposes, but it was a significant purpose. And then he also comes to fight with this other glorious demon who has overcome all the demigods in the universe. And so what else? To enliven his devotees. So the demigods, they get to see all these things that are happening. Since they are the ones that have been kicked out of their houses by Hiranyakashipu, they get to cheer on Lord Nrsingadev while he's ripping apart the body of Hiranyakashipu. So Krishna can accomplish so many things just by desiring to do so. He doesn't have to make any elaborate arrangements. He can make these things happen automatically. And he does it sometimes just like that. He rescued a beautiful woman one time when she was being stripped naked in the presence of some of the most powerful men on the planet, Draupadi, Queen Draupadi. And and she later asked him, why did you wait so long to come and help me? And what was his answer? You didn't call me. When you called me, I came immediately. And he gave her unlimited lengths of saris to keep her body covered so that she did not have to be shamefully abused by these stupid people, not knowing who they were dealing with. And they all eventually had to give up their lives because they disgraced this beautiful woman who was the same color, her skin color was the same as that of Krishna's. And it was said that she was sometimes called Krishna because all she thought of was Krishna. Krishna came and he helped the Pandavas in a number of instances. When Yudhisthira had lost, this was before the dice games, uh, when Dhritarashtra was finally convinced that he should divide up the kingdom between his eldest son and Yudhisthira, the son of Pandu, his brother, then he gave Yudhisthira this piece of land, and Yudhisthira and his brothers went to look at it, and Krishna went with them, and they saw that it was nothing but a desolate piece of worthless land. And so Krishna said, well, we'll fix that. And so he called King Indra to produce rain to cover this land and bring it back to life. It became verdant again, green and lush. And then he called an architect in. Was the architect of the demons or architect of the demigods? I can't remember. I think it was the architect of the demigods. And he built a beautiful city. I think it was known as Indraprastha. Is that right, Gokulananda Prabhu? Where King Yudhisthira's his kingdom that was fashioned by an architect that Krishna had called to do it. Was that Indraprastha? Is that what they called it? Okay. So, and he did this. He did this just for King Yudhisthira mainly, and of course all those who were interested in being in the presence of of these personalities, the Pandavas. I've said it before in here. One time I heard I was up in the room upstairs with my spiritual master, and for some reason, he was thinking about the Pandavas. He said, I really want to be with the Pandavas. He said, and I was waiting for him to say, because they're such powerful people, and they're such godly people, and they're such great warriors, I was kind of expecting him to say something like that, and instead he said, because they're so dutiful. Dutiful. And so here is Krishna doing so many things for these very dutiful people and giving them the reign over the authority, that kind of reign, over the entire world at that time, the known world at that time, and his brothers. So then I mentioned one more thing that came to mind, and that is Sudama, one of Krishna's playmates when he was in the Gurukula of what was the thing? Who was Krishna's spiritual master thing? Sandipani Muni, yes. And Sudama was there as one of the boys. And later on, after Krishna had constructed the Dwarka, city of Dwarka, here was Sudama. He and his wife were having to fast every other day or so because they didn't have enough food to feed their children and themselves. So they would fast and give the food to the children. And so the wife saw the condition of her husband. He was getting very weak and shaky. And she said, why don't you go just talk to your friend Krishna? He can help us out. And so Sudama didn't really want to do that, but he agreed to do it just because it would give him the opportunity to see his old buddy. And so when he got to the outskirts of Dwarka, Krishna knew he was coming, and so he ran down and took him up to his own quarters. He was wearing rags, and had been traveling. He was probably not so clean. Krishna puts him down in his own bed and washes his feet, and offers him nice foods and stuff, and accepts the little gift that Sudama had brought to him. Krishna did all that stuff for that one person. And then when Sudama went back to his home after, he didn't even think to ask Krishna to please give us some help. He just said, thinking it was so nice just to be in Krishna's presence. So when he went back and to his home, he did not even recognize his home. It was so palatial. And his wife came to him and greeted him, and she was beautiful, beautifully dressed. And there were all kinds of heavenly denizens walking around the grounds of their property. Krishna did this just for Sudama. Isn't that amazing? So, it brings us up to the present day. What does Krishna do for us? How does he show his love to us? Sometimes, you know, we get into a situation where the money's pretty tight and we don't know how we're going to get by. I've been in a situation like that. I didn't know what to do. And then within a very short time, I was given something to do here in the community. I was actually teaching in our community school for about 4 years after that time. And I was thinking, you know, Krishna let me get to the point of exasperation because what I was doing was not producing enough money even to support my household. And I thought I'm going to have to sell the house that I'm in or just let it go back to the person I'm buying it from and move somewhere else and find some place that we can afford. And you know, before I knew it, someone was calling me asking me to come teach in the group. And so that took the financial. I did make a lot of money, no, but we had enough money to pay the bills, and Krishna just made all these arrangements. And also my parents, they were retired, living back in Mississippi, and they saw that we were struggling, and so they started giving us money each month. So I thought, Krishna, you're the one responsible for this. You didn't have to do this, but you did it just for us, just so that we could stay in this community where we had been since 1980. And this was on toward the 90s then it was like 1992 when I began teaching in the Gurukula. And then after a time, after about 4 years, then my students, the boys that I was teaching, they reached the end of the 10th grade. They wanted to go on to, some of them to community college, some of them wanted to go work. And so I was left wondering, well, now what am I supposed to do? And so I had the inspiration that I should go back and get a master's degree so I could teach in the local colleges, the community colleges, just as an adjunct professor. And so that's what I did for the next 16 years. And Krishna just put everything into place, just fell into place. I mean, I had to do my part. I had to struggle a little bit and work a little bit. But still, he was doing that. So he does that for us, and he protects our families, our children, our parents, our elderly parents. He gives us protection. And why does he do that? Just because we have bothered to take time to think about him and read about him and come and chant in the temple room and hear about him in Bhagavatam classes, Chaitanya Charitamrita classes, Bhagavad Gita classes. All we have to do is just put out a little bit of effort, and Krishna's right there. He's taking care of us. He's doing stuff for us. So that's where we are today. We're having to deal with Krishna's unlimited power, and we also having to deal with his unlimited love. And that's about all I've got to say about that. Anyone have any questions that you would like to pose or comments, something that you've experienced? Has Krishna ever helped you in a time when you thought all was lost? You were at the end of your rope. You didn't see how you were going to get through this next month, the next 2 months, next 3 months. You didn't know how you're going to be able to. Have you ever had that kind of experience where Krishna helped you? You're in a relationship that was difficult and you didn't know how to get out of it, and suddenly Krishna just extricates you, just takes it away, and you take a deep breath and say, "Whew, glad that's over." Anybody?
Thank you for a very nice class. It's very, very lovely. Hare Krishna. When my kids were young, and my husband and I, there would be times when we would struggle, and we wouldn't know how we were going to get to the end of the month, and then somehow.
Oh, you mean there's somebody besides me that went through that? Oh.
Somehow, money would come in the mail, and it got to be so regular that we would just call it pennies from heaven. and it was just always perfect timing, and you know.
Hold on one moment. That's rewarding, isn't it?
It's pardon?
Rewarding, very rewarding.
Yes, it
when
was.
something like
It
that
was
happens.
very encouraging, and it definitely increased our faith. Yeah.
Anybody else? We're about to go. If you got something to say, you better say it quick.
I was thinking that, wonderful cast, Papa G. I was thinking that, thank goodness we have these difficulties in our life that shake us up, that make us go to Krishna looking for shelter, or we could be like Indra, just like, everything's cool. I have my family. I've got my house. No big deal. Let me just stay in this place that I have here. But we get shaken up every once in a while, or sometimes more than once in a while. And we can remember that this isn't a place for us, and that our shelter is Krishna. And so I was really appreciating that point of Indra becoming comfortable as a pig.
But he becomes proud too, doesn't he, occasionally, and he has to be brought down. And therefore, Krishna sends personalities like Hiranyakashipu. So the world is full of so many sinful activities right now, and I won't even name them because they're so sinful, and yet people don't realize that they're sinful activities. So many people on this planet are eating the flesh of other creatures, and they don't understand, and they find it really hard to accept that there's a spirit soul in every body that gets killed to put on their dinner table. So we have to be shaken up a bit. We have to be reminded that this isn't it. This place is not it. And then of course when we get to be this age, then the body begins to break down. The organs begin to break, and we expect it. We expect that to happen. So we're not all surprised and disappointed that, hey, my heart is giving me trouble, my kidneys, all these things in this body. But rather it helps us to understand that this place is temporary, and this material energy, this body is going to turn back into the elements that it came from. Dirt, water, air, these kinds of things. And when these bodies hopefully are eventually cremated, then you're going to have a little box or some kind of a container. I'm not you, but your kids, your wives, your husbands, your relatives. Somebody is going to have a box that's just full of ashes, and it's probably less than a pound. And that is what is left out of this beautiful body that was so attractive that every time you looked in the mirror, you thought, not bad. Even at 80 years old, people look into the mirror and they say, not bad, not bad. I don't look a day over 76. Anything else? Mother Kunti, do you want to speak? That's a pity. That's a pity. It's a rarity. Mother Kunti doesn't want to speak. We love her to death. All right. Thank you all. You've been very patient to sit with me, and I'm glad you chose to join us today. You all who are listening in online, I haven't forgotten you. I know you're there. So we're going to offer our obeisances to all of you who are just like desire trees, who fulfill the desires of everyone, and who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa darubhischa kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Kalachandjiram ki jai. Gaura Premanand. Hare Krishna.